Welcome into another edition of Crunch Time here on Amateur Sports TV. I told you earlier that we were going to have Coach John Hogan from the Maryville Saints ice hockey team on, and we do now have Coach Hogan on with us. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully you can hear me. My voice is a little gone after 3 games in 4 days, so get a little rest tomorrow before I'm yelling again.
Well, you know what? It's great to have hockey back. As we hear the Zambonis behind us, it's the perfect sounds for us. We were talking with Kevin Wheeler earlier today, and he was all aboard the hockey train as well. So we've got a lot of fans here for hockey. Blues are coming back. Obviously, got Maryville hockey. Let's talk a little bit about McKendree earlier this week. First game of the season, big time win there. How did the team look in their first game? First real action in a long time.
Yeah, that was the first action in 10 months. So a lot of rust to get off in 1 week of practice, and I thought we did a nice job, and there were some things that we really need to tidy up. And a lot of guys' first college game, and it's a different game than where they came from. So I thought it was a good building block, and maybe got us some confidence going into Lindenwood, and then Lindenwood. It's a different story when you're playing those guys.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, they've been playing for a long time. You guys obviously in year 3, so really trying to build up to that level. And they're tough games yesterday and today, but just watching it, the team competes. They compete hard. It doesn't matter who they're going up against, and you gotta like that in your team. That it doesn't matter who they're going up against. They're going to give their all every single game.
100%. It's this process that we have to understand, and they've been around for 15 plus years, and this is in our 3rd year. And first year our D2 team, we had one team, and they got blown out by the Lindenwood D2 team, and now those teams are playing the right people in the right division, and it's just a process. There's no other way around it, and you can't skip steps. If you were to skip steps, then you wouldn't be a better program for it. You wouldn't be a better team and a better group. So as I told the guys, high rise raises all, or excuse me, high tide raises all ships. So when you're playing really good teams like Lindenwood, you're going to become a better hockey team because of it. So, the last 2 games, we got a lot of really good D-zone practice. And there's some things that we still need to sharpen up. But that's what happens when you play the number 2, most likely the number 2 team in the nation. And for us, it's a good measuring stick. It's one thing to play in conference. It's one thing to play the 22nd best team and be okay against them, but when you play the 2nd best team, you got it, again. It's part of the process, and it's good for our program.
There was some rough and tumbleness today. A couple of injuries, unfortunately, that were suffered today. But the composure that your guys' team had today to not essentially react, because you'll see some teams, especially some young kids, that it gets a little rough like that. There's going to be some retaliation. The composure that this team, that your team has, is something to be valued. We'll talk a little bit about that togetherness, the cohesiveness of that team, to not really react, but to really just find it within yourself to just go back out there and play the game.
Well, it's certainly something that we talk about a lot. In our first game against McKendree, their first goal, Cole Bonnick, kind of behind the play, interference pick, and they go down and score. But, what are you going to do about it? I call it a level 7, not too high, not too low, and you have to focus on the task at hand. And I think, I'd rather just have adversity thrown at us as much as possible, because it makes the group closer, and it gives us an opportunity to teach those lessons that are on and off the ice. Life's not going to go your way. The hockey game's not going to go your way. Today, our guys kind of felt like maybe there were some calls and some things that got missed. Okay, so be it. That's life. That's hockey, and we got a lot of really good PK work out of it today. So I hope that, as a coaching staff, we're just trying to keep that perspective and that level 7. And every once in a while it might go over the top, and we have to be aware of that. But hopefully by April, when adversity hits our way, it's not our first storm, and we can weather it appropriately.
You guys were watching the game today. What kind of questions came up from watching today's game?
Yeah, Coach, definitely not the outcome we wanted today, but what did you see on the ice today that you could really use as building blocks for your next games coming up this week?
Yeah, it's the details. I always say the results are in the details. So If it's our forecheck and where our stick positioning it is, and trying to put them in tough spaces, I think we're going to see that on film. I've mentioned it before. Our D zone with some of our systems in the D zone, there's just a lot of good film that we can sharpen up. So it's one thing to practice, it's another thing totally to play. And we have a lot of good data and a lot of good substance and material that we can share with our group now and say, hey, if we do this, if we play this type of way against this style of hockey, we could compete against this team at the end come March and April, and anyone that crosses our path before then, they're going to have a really difficult day when they're playing Maryville.
So, in a game like this, tensions can be high. How do you keep your team from, staying disciplined? How do you keep your team from not going outside the box, not taking too many penalties? What are some of the things that are said on the bench during games?
Well, it takes the captains to lead by example, and it takes those guys that are really good players that that don't have a letter on their jersey to also lead by example and not to get caught up in it. It's simple as just focusing on the right things. If you're going to focus on the refs, you're going to focus on the stuff behind the play and the chirping and all that stuff. There's a time and a place for everything, but it's college hockey, and you can't go and just rip someone's helmet off and go from it with that standpoint and that perspective. So for some guys it's a lesson and it takes a little bit, but that's why we do what we do. So as a coach, you just have to be a mirror for those guys and say, is that really the best decision? Is that really how we should be thinking? What is the record of yelling at a ref and those calls being reversed? I believe it's like 0 in a million. So again, it's a waste of breath, and it focuses on the wrong thing. So it's with a young team and a young program. It's certainly something we don't overlook, and it's something that we're always focusing on.
And like you said, you're building a program, so you fight the battles that you can fight, and the ones that are non-winnable, you kind of push off to the side. And one thing we were talking about before we came on was the fact that I really like the fact that the names of the players aren't on the back of the jersey. It's all about the crest and the logo on the front, the team aspect. Is that something that is part of your guys' culture, or?
Yeah. I think hockey just in general has that mindset. I think guys that have played it for a while, they always talk about the boys and family and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's just built into the sport, but it's certainly something that we really try to focus on. And, with the guys this week, I talk, as much as I'm as competitive as anyone, I want to win every hockey game I can. But at some point you have to be able to take a step back and say, okay, what's this all about? And what are the things that we're trying to achieve on and off the ice? And that's what we're trying to focus on as a staff. And look, again, we haven't played in 10 months. I'll lose all 20 games this year, but hey, I get to be back on the ice. I get to be around our guys, get to have our family back and have some sense of normalcy. So it's that perspective that we're always just trying to keep in check. And, those competitive juices, like I said, level 7 and having the big picture in mind always.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what you guys got coming up this week. You got a day off tomorrow, but what are we looking forward to this week in Maryville hockey?
It doesn't stop for Maryville hockey. We have some bumps and bruises. That's just college hockey, but we're back at it again on Wednesday at 12:30 against McKendree, and then we're back in at the Maryville University Hockey Center on Friday and Saturday against Midland. So as I told the guys, we're going to jump in the deep end, and some of us might go underwater a couple times, but we're just going to paddle, and we're going to figure out how to swim as we go. And that's, for me, I think this year is going to be this semester is just going to be such a character building for our group, and it's really going to be a test for our guys to say, okay, this is college hockey. We're at a pivotal moment in our program of, it's easy to be, an average team. It's a totally different other thing to be that top 10 and top 15. You can bark at it all much. You can say that you want to be a top 15 team, but you have to perform, and I think that's what's most exciting about this semester is, like, guys, we're going to learn, and we might fall a couple times, we might fail a couple times, we might make some mistakes, but man, we're going to be better for it. Like today, the second goal, was just a missed coverage in our D zone, and Jens Juliusson missed his guy. You know what? that's okay. He's going to be better at it next time, and he's always going to remember it, and he's going to be able to teach the guys like, hey, that switch and that D zone stuff. That's part of it. That's why you play the good hockey teams to start, and when we play them in February, hopefully we'll have some better outcomes, and we'll be better. Like I said, we'll be better for it.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thanks for joining us. I know it's not easy to talk after a loss, but you do it very, very well, and we're looking forward to more coverage of Maryville hockey here on Crunch Time and a lot more wins.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Our pleasure.